We have more for your ears only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Melissa Axelberth with a quote from the news. Anything showing that the unborn child is a member of the human family, that gets the public to take a closer look. That was Mary Spalding Balch of the National Right to Life Committee on the disputed scientific theory that a fetus can feel pain after 20 weeks, which has led to bans on abortion after that point in a dozen states. Now this.
A medida da grandeza de una sociedade é dada pelo modo como esta trata os mais necessitados, que não têm outra coisa senão sua pobreza. Se una persona è gay e cerca il Signore e ha buona volontà, ma chi sono io per giudicarla?
In a Brazilian slum on his first return to the American continent since becoming pontiff, or Bishop of Rome as he likes to low-key it, Pope Francis drew cheers when he said, quote, "The greatness of a society is found in the way it treats those most in need, those who have nothing apart from their poverty." On the flight home, he sparked surprise with an informal press conference and his unusually accepting rhetoric on homosexuality. If someone is gay and he seeks the Lord and has goodwill, he said in Italian, who am I to judge?
To recap the new Pope's first mission to the New World, from which he came as Cardinal of Buenos Aires only 4 months ago, as well as his comments on gays and women in the Church and his larger papal record to date, we're joined by Terrence W. Tilley, Avery Cardinal Dulles S.J. Professor of Catholic Theology at Fordham University. Former chairman of the department there, his books include Faith, What It Is and What It Isn't, and The Disciples' Jesus, Christology is Reconciling Practice, both from Orbis Books. Welcome to our program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We saw in Brazil, as back in Rome, the Pope's common touch and popularity with the common folk. How do you think his stress on social concern and fairness went over with the country's leaders and people with power?
I think he came across very gently with those in power. When he addressed the Brazilian leaders, he talked about dialogue, dialogue, dialogue. But he also talked about the necessity for enabling people to participate in dialogue, that is, to not be so economically oppressed to be unable, in the end, to speak.
It has been well stressed that unprecedented papal use of the word gay and his non-judgmental attitude do not constitute a change in doctrine. What do they represent at this point?
It represents a change in style that I hope the traditionalists in the Church will take as a model. It has been constantly the Church's teaching, as Papa Francesco put it, that every person has a dignity just because he or she is a person. It doesn't matter whether they're straight or gay or bisexual or lesbian or whatever. And that's the stress that he was putting on that issue. And so that traditional doctrine, stressing that rather than the negativity of don't do this and we don't want that, I think that's a very important change in style.
Do you think it's a change in style that could lead to a change in doctrine if acceptance becomes more general and more truly empathetic?
I don't think that that's possible in the near future. What it will require is a change in what we in the Guild called theological anthropology. That is, it's going to require a change in an understanding of what it means to be human. Right now, we're dominated by a heterosexual, and some would say heterosexist, and dualist anthropology. So before anything can change about understanding gay sexuality, the whole notion that this is against human nature at the level of theological anthropology has to change.
We should also ask about what the Pope had to say on the role of women in the Church, more than now, still short of the priesthood. But do you see him edging doctrine in that direction?
Again, doctrine, I don't think so. Right now, the Church is debating whether women can be ordained to the diaconate, the step right below the priesthood, and there are many permanent married men who are deacons in the Roman Catholic Church. If that debate comes out positively, then I think that augurs for a change in the distant future on the issue of priesthood.
There have been headlines about wrongdoing and some changes in the Vatican Bank and related financial institutions. What role or influence of the new pope do you see in that area?
his very appointment of a commission to study this, his willingness to say, I don't know what the answer should be, I will listen to what they have to say, suggests that he is really serious about wanting to reform the Vatican Bank. What form it should take, again, remains unclear, but it's clear that he is willing to listen as much as anybody, any pope has been for quite some time.
What about the ongoing revelations about sex abuse of minors by priests and the way the hierarchy has handled the issue? Even a potential candidate for Pope, New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan, was disclosed to have shielded millions of dollars from penalty verdicts while serving in Milwaukee.
The tragic and sad abuse and the tragic and even sadder refusal of authorities to cooperate with policing agencies in prosecuting this abuse is not going to end immediately. There's no way that everything will ever be known. It's simply the case that this tragedy, this vile tragedy, revelations are going to keep coming out until probably the end of time. What I think is happening is that more and more bishops are going to take their authority seriously and not cover up any allegations of abuse in the future.
There was some concern at the start over how the Church would deal with a living former pope as well as his successor. Any indications of how that situation is playing out behind closed Vatican doors?
Francis was almost funny in his press conference, calling Benedict a grandfather to him and respecting him immensely. Benedict is so much a man of the Church, so dedicated to the Church, I suspect there are no significant problems. It's certainly a different style that Francis is showing from Benedict's style, but I cannot imagine that there's any difficulty between them.
Terrence W. Tilley is Avery Cardinal Dulles S.J. Professor of Catholic Theology at Fordham University and former chairman of the department there. His books include Faith, What It Is and What It Isn't, and The Disciples' Jesus, Christology as Reconciling Practice, both from Orbis Books.
Quote from the news, we have marched, we have rallied, we have prayed, and now it is time to take it up another notch. That was Deepak Bhargava, one of 41 immigration reform leaders whose protest at the Capitol for a path to citizenship led to arrests.
Next, what Boston's hospitals learned from the marathon bombing. For your ears only.